This is a John Deere 445 garden tractor. This is the series that replaced the 420 like in a previous video we showed you. Originally these 400 series tractors, we started out with the 400 there in the late 70s. Then came the 430 and the 420, and then the 420s were replaced by the 425s and 445s, which you see here. And of course the 430 was replaced by the 455, which was a tractor just like this one, but with a 3-cylinder diesel engine in it. Now the 445 and the 425 were basically the same tractor. The 425 was a carbureted Kawasaki liquid-cooled V-twin, and this 445 is a fuel-injected Kawasaki liquid-cooled V-twin. We'll take a look inside here under the hood. See, here's the engine. Of course, back here's the radiator. Come around to this side here, we got the panel removed. Seeing her a little bit better. So you can see up in under here, you got your wires going in there for your fuel injector and your sensors over here. Shaft driven tractor, just like the 420. There's the Driveshaft coupling, bolt right onto the flywheel. And you can see this has a fan since it is liquid cooled. The fan is ran by a belt right off of the crankshaft. Got the starter over here on this side. Nice thing about this one compared to the old 420s and 318s, you don't have to pull the engine out to replace the starter. Muffler in the front there, nice and covered up. And there you can see radiator screen. This is always an important thing. Make sure to pull that out in the summertime. Clean all the grass out of there, because that will cause one of these things to overheat in a hurry. Got the battery up front here, right in behind the grill. And this one has the 54-inch mower deck on it. Of course, all these attachments are shaft driven, just like on the old 400 series tractors. You got the gearbox in the back, and the PTO is actually on the front of the transmission, as you can see there, whereas the old ones, it came in from the front and the drive shaft went back and then attached into the front of the gearbox. These here, they reversed that. So this one here has power steering. You can see the cylinders down there, just like the 420s had power steering. Differential lock. Your remote hydraulics are actually back here instead of in the front, like on the older 400 series tractors. Then you come around to this side. Forward and reverse are pedal operated, not on the dash like with the old 420s and 430s and straight 400s. And then you have one brake pedal instead of your individual brakes. Here on your dash, you got the parking brake and cruise control, tilt steering wheel, so you can just push this button down and you can tilt the wheel back and forth there. Headlight switch, of course your throttle and your electric PTO. This is the gauge cluster here. You can see PTO light, got a temperature gauge, you got a gas gauge, a couple other lights in there, and the hour meter right down there in the center. And then this is your hydraulics to raise and lower your mower deck, and then for your remote hydraulics, you know, this does everything right here. Now this one has this cover on here because this one actually has the double pulley on the spindle to run the power flow blower for the collection system, which would attach onto the side of the mower deck. And then here's the post for it. That's been taken off of here for now. But you can see this one's also got the 3-point hitch on it. So you can run some other attachments on there. And then what you can do with these is they had a kit where you could pop this cover off the back and you could add the rear PTO, so you could run a rototiller or, you know, other attachments that were shaft driven right off the back of the transmission. So that was a pretty handy thing to have. Kind of rare to find them. You don't see too many of the 400 series tractors with that on there. It was an option that, you know, some people invested in, others just, they didn't bother. They were only using these things to mow and tow a wagon. So here's a gas tank. And this has an electric fuel pump inside there. Seat, you know, has a pretty good suspension system on it. Over here we got a glove box. Store your stuff in there. Tail lights, they light up with the headlights. So that's pretty much it as far as the tractor. This is your height adjustment right here. Flip this up, and you have to have the mower deck in the raised position, and then you can adjust this up or down, and there's your indicator to let you know where you're at. But some things that are different between this and the old 400 series, the old 420s, is of course this one's fuel injected, but the 425 was carbureted just like the 420. But on this 400 series of tractors, the PTO clutch itself is actually in the transaxle back there. It's in the transmission. It's somewhat like a motorcycle clutch. You got the friction discs and everything. The brakes are inside. That's why you only have one brake pedal. Doesn't have a separate oil cooler, but these transmissions stay pretty cool. Not a whole lot of them you'll see overheating. You know, in the old 420s, they had a cooler right up here, just like the 318s, to keep that transmission cool. What else is there? A little bit bigger tires on this one than you see on a regular garden tractor. This one has the 26s on here. You know, most garden tractors you see, they're 23s, but these, since they were a little bit beefier, they had the bigger ones on them, just like they had the bigger front tires with an actual bolt through the center of them instead of a snap ring. Attachments on the front, you could run a snowblower with one of these. You could put the snow blade on it. A couple other odds and ends that they made for them. The mower decks are not interchangeable between these and the old 400 series tractors. This is a completely different style. Like we said before, it's got the gearbox in the back with the shaft going out the back. This one has the rubber motor mounts on it to eliminate a lot of the vibration through the drive line. That's something that the old ones didn't have. They were just bolted directly right to the frame. Now the 455, as I said, is a 3-cylinder diesel, but other than that, the tractor is pretty much the same. You know, one brake pedal, foot pedal hydrostat. The differential lock is in the same position, and the 425 is identical to this, just a carbureted engine instead of a fuel injected engine. So as I pointed out, this only has one brake pedal on it, where the 420s and 430s and the old 400s had the individual brakes. Another thing missing here is this is just a single speed transmission, where the older ones had the high and low with a true neutral. This one here is just a hydrostat with infinite forward and reverse, and then it has a arm on the side here to be able to release this transmission to push it. And you can see right there the sticker says to push manually. You just raise that up, and that arm pushes down on the valves on the top of the transmission and releases the pressure on there, so you can push this or tow it. Don't recommend towing it at a high speed or pushing it at a high speed. You can always cause damage when you do that to any hydrostatic transmission. So, any user wondering where to release the transmission at, now you know. You got your lift cylinder is up in here. This is the one works the mower deck, and it works the 3-point. All in all, these aren't bad tractors. You'll see a lot of them out there yet. A lot of them are still in use. You'll find some every now and then that are the four-wheel steer version. You know, they're pretty nice to have. You can turn right around a tree or a flower bed. You know, they were pretty popular with landscapers for a while before zero turns really caught on. And then the attachments that you can use with them, the big baggers and all. And then, you know, you had one of these and you're using it to mow, then you could always do snow removal and small lots and stuff with them. They had a lot of accessories for these things. And you could get the the diesels, you know, with the bigger 60-inch mower deck, or you could get a 48-inch deck on these too. So if you needed to get in small areas, you could have a big tractor and still get into small areas. They had loaders available for these. You know, you'll still find a Johnson loader every now and then that runs off the PTO for these at some auctions, or, you know, used on Craigslist here and there. So they were a really versatile tractor. They had the few differences between the 420s and the 430s, but these were a real big change for John Deere when they came out with these. And they sold a lot of these things, man. They had them everywhere. Back in the day, you would see these all over the place. You still find them for sale quite often. They don't really have a lot of issues. Valve cover leaking is the biggest thing. You know, we had a video a while back where we showed you place that O-ring in there and put an actual gasket in it. It helps prolong the life of that, keep that sealed up better. Originally, when a lot of these came out, they had a plastic camshaft in these engines, and that was a real problem. The teeth would just shear off and you'd have no compression because your valves weren't moving. It wasn't too bad on these. You could pull the grill housing and everything off, pull the muffler off, and you could actually do that without having to take the motor out, because you could unbolt that cover off the front, just slide it right out of there, put everything new in, and then throw everything back together. Where on the 345 liquid cooled Kawasaki engines, they were kind of the same engine, just laid down. They were a vertical shaft engine, but a lot of the same components. And those there, you had to pull the engine out, and it was a whole lot of work to place the cam in one of them when the teeth broke off. But these here, if you've got one that was switched over to a metal cam back in the day, then you're good to go. You've got nothing to worry about. But you never know what's inside there until you actually have one apart. Every now and then we still find one with the plastic cam gear, and nowadays things have gotten a little bit cheaper, so it's not as costly of a project to do it. Still, it can ruin your weekend if you're planning on mowing and you go out there and you go to crank it over, and all of a sudden the engine starts cranking over real fast. There's a good chance that that's what happened. Your teeth went on your camshaft. And here you can see this is your water pump right here. That's where it's at. It runs off of the camshaft. So a lot of times when those camshafts would break, there would go your water pump gear too. A lot of times your oil pump gear, your governor gear, all that stuff could end up shattered. Back in here, this is your thermostat housing. That's where the thermostat's at for the cooling system. And your coils right here. And then there's a trigger for the coils. It's over on the other side, and they actually fire by these little tits right here on the flywheel. When they go around and pass that trigger, that's what makes the coils fire. So that's pretty much it. This was a little bit of a walk around and a look at a newer 400 series tractor from John Deere. When I say newer, of course, I just mean newer than the 420s and 430s and the old 400s. After this, they went to the X400 series, the X485s, X495s, and those. And that's something maybe we'll take a look at them on down the road here. They had a few more changes from these to those. So, hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.